Welcome back to Beer with Nat. On every episode, I share a beer and a chat with people who do what they love for a living. They work in the beer industry. Today's guest is Alix Shaw, Assistant Packaging Manager at the 5 Points Brewery in Hackney, East London. Alix is also a co-founder of the Crafty Beer Girls, a community of beer-loving ladies who work in the beer industry or just enjoy a good pint. In addition to monthly meetups at pubs and bars in London, Crafty Beer Girls has an online community that's grown to nearly 800 women worldwide since its founding in 2015. I met Alix through Crafty Beer Girls and was so excited to get her on the podcast because her energy and enthusiasm for all things beer is infectious. Plus, her story of how she got to where she is in the beer world has lessons for us all. Alix and I talk about how she made her transition from wine to beer and what she's learned by saying yes to every opportunity that came her way, namely, discovering her passion for packaging. Alix tells us what she loves most about her role as assistant packaging manager, educates us on what can go wrong when beers aren't properly packaged, and emphasizes the importance of building a tight-knit team. We reflect on her personal journey in beer, along with the growth of the Crafty Beer Girls, and its impact on the London beer community over the years. We also talk about what Alix gets up to outside of the beer world, what picks her up after a down day or a long shift, and what changes she's hoping to bring to the beer industry to help create safer and fairer working environments for all. If you've never really paid attention to beer packaging before, prepare for that to change. If anyone can make you passionate about packaging, it's Alix. Here she is. What I want to start with is you telling us why you picked out what beer you picked and why you picked it.
Okay, so I picked the Saison Dupont just purely because I kind of like a little bit of classic. We live in a beer world at the moment where there's a lot of like wild, funky stuff going on. It's really, really interesting. But sometimes you really just fancy a good Saison or a good Pale Ale or just a decent lager. And you can't get any more decency and just classic perfection than Saison Dupont.
Which I think is kind of funny that you say that, because there's a lot going on in this beer.
It's complex, yeah. It's not a simple beer, but it's not got like,
But it's those
goji berries
flavors
thrown in. It's not like, got like
fried chicken, whatever crazy things people are doing
all
these
this
days.
weird stuff that you tend to find. I mean, which I do really, really love. I'm obviously very excited by all the different beers that you can get, but yeah.
And what's happening now, yeah. So do you have a special memory with this particular beer? Do you know when the first time you had it was, or whenever you've had it, you've just loved it?
Yeah, I actually, I drank it when I worked in the wine industry, and it was my first ever Saison, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah,
that
was a good place to start.
This was my introduction to Saison.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, this is awesome.
Something special.
And I think, actually, this was probably one of the first introductions I had to something, with that kind of complex, like the Easter's going on, and wasn't like, oh, this is a little bit unusual, what's happening. It was like
unusual but intriguing, as opposed to unusual but unpleasant.
Yeah, I was like, I want more of this.
Yeah.
And it always just reminded me of like being in a barn or something like that.
Yeah, very fitting, as it's a farmhouse style.
I know it's a farmhouse style, but
it's the beer that got me into beers as well. I have friends that introduced me to beer, and we were lucky enough to be living near a pizza place in Berkeley that had Pliny on draft all the time.
What?
I know, and Deschutes Mirror Pond on draft all the time. But I remember having Ommegang Hennepin Saison at a brewery in New York, and that was the beer that I was like, oh, what's going on here?
Ooh, this is exciting.
I want to know more. Yeah. And since then kind of set down that path. So you've just come to me after a long shift at work today. Yeah. So you work for 5 Points.
I do. I
believe you have a promotion to be celebrating. So tell us a little bit more about your role and how it's changed and what your day was like today.
So I originally first started at 5 Points around 2.5 years ago. So I think it was late 2015, and I was doing social media and marketing with Doreen, who used to work at 5 Points. She now works at Cloudwater. And then I would do some odd shifts here and there, doing some packaging, just helping out in the warehouse. And they kept on asking me to come into packaging more and more and more, and then eventually offered me a position full-time on the packaging team. That started March 2016, I think. And then I was promoted to assistant packaging manager at mid-June kind of thing. So originally I started just basically assisting James at the brewery and helping put up lines and just kind of being there a little bit of like emotional support for someone who's actually running the show. But now I actually can come in and I can look after my team. But we actually have a team, for example.
Woohoo, that's something to celebrate.
I think it's something really exciting to have.
It's not just trying to grab extra bodies to help with things.
It's not just throwing the brewers on the packaging lines. Like we actually have dedicated people on the packaging lines. So I look after the staff and I make sure everything kind of actually works and runs smoothly, which isn't always the case with packaging. It's
but you got to think on your feet, figure out how to fix these things.
I think, one of my favourite things about it is the challenges that come with the job as well. So, if, like, stupid things like today, we were canning some beer, we were canning some XPA, which obviously we have a couple of cans here if we want to indulge. They've been packaged for around, it's about 7 hours now, but I think that still counts as quite fresh.
Probably the freshest beer I have, yeah.
We had a few issues on the line, and it was to do with like your top pressure over there, from your tank, and are your lines too long? Do you have them like too high or too low? Just you
all
have
to do with that resistance.
You have to think of every bit, because then if you start having fobbing issues, then you get low fills, and then you have can waste.
Yeah, so it's of course all about efficiencies, but then having to really be able to know where to make the changes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a real good challenge. You have to play around with a lot of things. And I don't really have an engineering background, but you kind of have to get your hands a little bit dirty when you're sorting out the machines and making sure that they're working properly.
Yeah.
But we accomplished everything we wanted to do today, so I'm really happy.
Day.
Yeah, it was a good day in the end of it.
Yeah.
I did sit there waiting and watching the sight glass, waiting for the beer to end, because I was like, please
just go. Okay.
I really want to go see Nat.
And you're here now.
Yes.
With tasty beers.
Yes.
So, as you said, you don't have an engineering background. How did you work your way from being sort of that extra body on the packaging line to now assistant packaging manager?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit of a weirdo in the industry, in the sense that I didn't ever do any homebrewing. I didn't work for Craft Beer Co. and I didn't work for Brewdog. I kind of came from the wine industry, and during my time in the wine industry, I was there for about 5 years. And I love wine. I think it's fascinating. But the moment we lost our beer person in the shop, I then took the reins and kind of started learning a little bit more about beer, and started drinking a few more of our products that we had on the beer shelves to kind of get to know what I was selling.
And where were you working then?
It was a place called Theatre of Wine in Greenwich.
Okay.
And then from there, so I'm from South East London. So I was working in the shop, and then one of the brewers, one of the guys from Hop Stuff, approached me and basically poached me. And so I went and started working in the beer industry, because he just said I was really enthusiastic about his beers. And from there, I left there and I went back to the wine industry thinking I was missing it.
Okay.
And I think I just hadn't fallen into the right area of the beer industry. So I'd gone to sales.
Okay.
And I'm good with sales.
Yeah,
but
you're great at chatting to people, but it might not click with you personally.
Yeah, I'm weirdly enthusiastic about beer quite a lot of the time.
I think most of us in the industry
yeah,
are.
exactly. That's
We're all an easy bunch to chat to for that reason.
But there was something amazing when I went and worked for 5 Points and did this packaging just as an odd job. I was literally putting bottles into a box, or I was helping with casking, or I was moving like a keg from a cleaning station to a filling station and then putting it onto a pallet. And I always came home just thinking, that was awesome.
I want to do
I'm
more
now
of
going to
this.
sleep for 12 hours, but
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
exhausted.
amazing. So yeah, it was a bit of a intentional but also accidental thing that happened. I was given opportunities and I just took them, because actually it sounded a lot more interesting than what I was currently doing.
Yeah, right. You don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah, exactly. I've never done packaging,
doing
never done social media, never done marketing, never done
Yeah.
sales for a brewery, but people recognised something, so yeah, they offered me the opportunity and I was like, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And
So
packaging is the thing that I found that I loved
Yeah,
so
that's
much.
what I was going to say. So you tick the sales box, you tick the social media and marketing box,
Mm-hmm.
and now that you've landed in the packaging world, it seems to me you are so proud of what you do, and you want to get everyone else excited about packaging too. So why do you love it so much?
It's a weird thing. I
suppose let's let's take a step back and say, what does packaging mean to someone who's not so familiar with beer?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to packaging, you have a lot of people who kind of just overlook it. It's not even a thing that you think about. You know, you go to the pub and you get your pint, or like you go to a shop and you buy your cans, you buy your bottles, and then you take it home and you drink it. And then it's like, I'll think about the beer and I'll think about the branding on the bottle, but how did that beer get into that bottle? Like, no one ever thinks about it. So I kind of like packaging because it's the underdog. It's a little bit the sort of underappreciated and forgotten sector of every brewery in the world, I'd say. You know, unless you're doing something really obscure, like you're doing weird style bottles or cans or something like that, then people might start to think about it. But it's like it's not
it's almost so standard we don't think about it, when really there are significant changes and improvements, and
like
that's why we need you here to tell us about them.
And your beer is different from in tank than what it is in package. So some beers are not always great to drink fresh, and you want to leave them in package for a little bit. Barley wine is a really, really good example for that. And I think I really like packaging as well, because it's a great way to represent the beers that you love. So obviously I absolutely adore 5 Points beers, and it would make me incredibly sad if I was doing something that didn't represent those beers in the best light possible. So I want to make sure that all the people that are drinking 5 Points beers, or drinking any beers, if any brewery I ever worked for, they are drinking them as good as you can get it, either in tank or, you know, just
in any format.
In any format, yeah.
And what are some things that can go wrong if a beer isn't properly packaged?
When it comes to bottles, if you have, say you have like a sediment in there that's still a little bit active, you could have exploding bottles. If you have an infection in your bottles as well, that's the other thing. You need to make sure that everything is sanitized, because if there's an infection or if there's a problem with your packaging, your package, rather, so your bottles or your cans, you could have a
batch that might go to waste.
It's a whole batch that goes to waste, or you could have things explode.
Health and safety concerns, damage to the brand.
Yeah, damage to the brand, I think, is probably one of my biggest concerns, because we're so strict when it comes down to sanitizing and caring for the quality of our beers. But yeah, you know, you don't want to basically oxidize your beer as you're putting it into package. So yeah, you could oxidize it, you can infect it, you can overcarbonate it, undercarbonate it. You could.
So you've got a lot of hard work on your plate every day.
Yeah, there's an element of like celerin to it as well. So you have to make sure that your beer is carved up to the right level, the clarity's okay, and basically the finished product is properly finished. You can't just be like, oh well, it's finished fermenting and the brewer said it's okay. I need to then step in and do my own checks on the matter and kind of see if it's okay. Am I happy to package it?
Yep.
Are they happy for that to go out? You know, we have to work as a team. It's not the brewers versus the packaging people.
It's
but
everybody working collaboratively to get the best product out to the customer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in production you recognise that, but maybe in the outside world, in civilization,
outside of our beer world,
you know, when you're sitting in the pub and you don't work in the beer industry, you might not think about the hard work that it has actually gone into the package, but you'll think about the hard work that's gone into the beer being produced. And as I've said to you plenty of times, it's my motto. You can make the best beer in the world, but if you don't package it right, it doesn't mean shit.
Exactly.
Don't know if we're allowed to swear on your podcast. But.
Say whatever you feel. So yeah, Alix is sort of beating the drum to bring more attention to packaging, and I think with all the passion that you have for it, it helps make other people really enthusiastic about it as well.
I've met a lot of people recently that are like, hey, I now know a lot more about packaging. I appreciate it a lot more.
What's the best bit of the job? What do you enjoy most?
I think it's making everything come together. You know, I always kind of think of it a little bit like a Sudoku puzzle.
Okay.
I know that's
not very good at those.
But you know, you've got all these missing elements, and you kind of have to put them into the right place. And then when you've got a complete puzzle, and you look at it, and you're like, I did that. Yep. That was me. I did all of that hard work. Yep. So you know, making sure that you have the right packaging materials turn up, making sure that the beer is ready, obviously. You have enough hoses, you know, having enough water to go in, just sorting out logistics, making sure that the sales team are getting so say for example we're packaging something and that the packaged beer needs to go out that afternoon. I then need to do logistics on the other side. So I have to look after the beer before and after.
Yep.
So I think it's actually the complete thing that I love the most about it.
Seeing the full picture.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily love standing at a pack out line and putting cans into a box.
But you respect that it's part of the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I also really love teaching new members of staff like this weird thing. So, when you're explaining how a certain bit of equipment detects the amount of CO2, and then you have to talk about pressure and temperatures, and and it's all of a sudden you're having this really involved conversation with beer that people are like, oh, it's not just magic.
That's what I used to say about physics. I hated learning physics in school because I would just say, oh, it just takes the magic out of the world. Physics literally explains everything. And as you were saying earlier, there's a bit of physics here, there's a bit of chemistry here, there's a bit of microbiology here, and you need to get familiar with all these different things because they all impact the end product.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love being in that brewery. There's days there's moments where I don't enjoy it because I'm just like, I just want to go home.
Yeah. Everyone's got to have a long day, a bad day.
Yeah, and I've had like a semi-long week already, but I've come here with you tonight, and I'm, sit down and I'm not like that bloody brewery. It's like, whew, that was a challenge, but here we are.
Genuinely excited.
Yeah.
Just spill the beans about what your day was like.
Yeah, I just enjoy my day at work, and a lot of my colleagues probably think I'm a little bit crazy at times, but they get through it, and I
often think there's enough negativity in the world that if you can still show up and be positive, sometimes it may seem a bit too much, but other people will appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you need that person, and we work together as well. So like there was a moment today where I was very, very stressed, and I had to basically just close the line down, walk away for 5 minutes, and then come back. And everyone had tidied up and sorted loads of things out for me. So when I came back, so they looked after me.
Yep.
And then when I'm in a good mood, I'll make sure that they're all okay. It's teamwork, and it is a really nice thing to see. And I feel like breweries, you get that quite a lot. I mean, especially at the 5 Points, everyone is always looking out for each other. So, there's an accident or, someone's feeling a bit down, we'll all, camaraderie, like just making sure everyone's okay.
Yeah.
Because we have work to do, so.
Yeah. There's a motive there, but you do care about each other.
I think, we're friends. We go out drinking quite a lot as well, so there's a lot of...
That makes quick friends
often. There's a lot of stress, but there's a lot of morale.
Yeah. Well, now's a good time to talk about another community that you've created outside of 5 Points. Alix is one of the co-founders of the Crafty Beer Girls, so it is a really wonderful, special place in my heart community for women who work in and who enjoy beer here in London. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about who you founded it with, when it was founded, and also talk about the change in the fact that it used to be an in-person meetup, and now we've got this great community online as well that's close to 800 members.
I just like, what?
So what's that like?
It's super weird.
So take us back to the beginning.
So it was a really interesting evening. I'd been round in Bermondsey, and I went to go see a friend in the bottle shop. And it wasn't even the person who I ended up meeting. It was Natasha from Weirdbeard, and I walked up the stairs in the bottle shop in Bermondsey, and she just turns around. I've never met her before in my whole entire life at this point. She turns around, she just goes, "Oh my god, you're a woman in beer, let's do drinks sometimes," and then throws herself at me and gives me this massive hug, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, let's do that. I'm totally, yeah, okay. And about a week later, I send her a message, like we added each other on Facebook, I sent her a message and like, hey, do you want to do this meetup? And this must have been January 2015.
Okay.
I think. It's been so long, I can't even really remember. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. She had a friend and I had a friend. So there was 4 people that knew about Crafty Beer Girls.
At that very first
and
meetup.
Had attended.
Okay.
It was me, Natasha, Arnest, and Sabrina. Sabrina now lives in Canada.
Back in Canada, yeah.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I miss her very dearly. And we, just proceeded to go out in East London, and we just drank loads of beers, and we just had lots and lots of fun. And then at the end of the night, I got a cab home, and when I got home, it must have been like 1, 2 in the morning or something, and I was just sitting there thinking, I really enjoyed that. That was great. We had no name for ourselves. We weren't like going to be a group or anything like that. We just
You were just happy to have found each other.
Yeah, we were just like, let's meet up, let's go out for some drinks. So obviously, Alix being drunk at home at 2 o'clock in the morning, I decided to buy the domain name for Crafty Beer Girls.
You've had it that long. I didn't
Yeah,
realize
the first night we went out, that's when I went home and I bought
That's
it.
when inspiration struck.
Yeah, it was. That's what I mean. It was like super weird. Like I just decided this is a thing. This could be a thing. Let's go for it. So I kind of just decided on a name, and I've got a little bit of slack about the name because we're women,
we're
not
women.
girls, and just eye roll. It's completely harmless. Yeah, so I bought the domain name. I set up an email address, and then the next morning I messaged Tash, and I just said, "Hey, so I really enjoyed last night. Here's what I did," and she called me crazy and I'm a nutter. But then we set up the next meeting, and then the next meeting, and then the next meeting, and I think it was it was almost a year down the line. I think we got to like November, December, and me and Tash went round to Sarah's house, and Sarah used to organise stuff with us, but then she moved back to Scotland, and we set up a Facebook page and we set up a Twitter account. And this was a Sunday evening because I woke up on the Monday morning to over 200 notifications on my phone.
Oh, wow.
Where I think we'd followed like 50 people on Twitter, and we had hundreds of follows back. Loads of people were coming into the group on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been running, like the Facebook group has kind of been going for about 2 years. And when it started, it never had a quiet period. It wasn't like, oh, hey, yeah, this is a thing. I think within like a week we had a couple of hundred people.
Wow.
And it was like friends of friends of friends, and I've had people from New York contact me and ask me to like help with some events that they wanted to set up in London.
Is it mostly London centric, or how quickly did it change to being a bit more inclusive?
There are some people. So there was someone posted the other day. It was like an event in Florida. Like so we are a little bit outside of London. We're mainly London focused because obviously we're a large group of friends in the beer industry,
yeah.
And there's a lot of us in London, but we've got obviously now Doreen and Hannah living in Manchester. You've got Sarah in not Edinburgh,
in Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow. Mm-hmm. We've also Sabrina over in Canada. I mean, she's not necessarily looking after Crafty Beer Girls up there, but we have Crafty Beer Girls like.
It helps to spread
in the
mission.
Western world, yeah. And we got there's quite a few of us in like Belgium and France, and there's some in Germany as well. So it's a little bit crazy that I walked up these stairs one day and someone turned around and gave me this massive hug and just approached me because I'm a woman who enjoys beer and works in beer. And recognises it wasn't because of a guy that I was with or like my brother or my dad. No man had an influence on it. It was just like, you're a woman in beer, yay!
Yep. And
then now coming up to, oh my God, 4 years. Oh my God, it's coming up 4 years in January.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got like 700 people on the Facebook group.
Nearly 800 now.
Nearly 800. Jesus, I can't even keep up.
Yeah.
We have someone trying to join in every single day. It is a private group, so we have to kind of accept them into the group,
and it is for women only.
It is for women only.
But you don't need to work in the beer industry. You
no.
just need to be a fan of beer.
No, we sometimes you saw one recently. Someone posted and asked, are they allowed to come because they don't work in the beer industry, but they really like beer? And it's just like we just want everyone to know that.
Any woman who likes beer and wants a little community to join.
We're also hilarious.
I shouldn't say little community. It's a growing community.
Yeah, it's growing. Like, and I mean, I think if I'd like really pushed, this is the other thing. It's organic. If I haven't like gone out there and been like, you need to join this group. It's just like, oh, you're a friend of a friend, and now you want to join. You've heard about this group.
Yeah, I heard about it through a friend of a friend.
Yeah,
and I have my job at Duvel because of someone I met at a Crafty Beer Girls.
I have my job at 5 Points because of Crafty Beer Girls, and I started Crafty Beer Girls. Like, how does that happen?
So it's just such an incredible community. It's such an important part of my London beer experience as well.
Yeah, I don't know where I would be right now without Crafty Beer Girls. And I think, that just whenever I think about that, I'm just a bit like, how did I?
never
How
saw
am
this
I
coming.
behind this?
Yeah.
You know, I'm fairly sociable, but I'm not like a big social media user. I do it every so often, but it's there if I want it.
Yeah.
And it was obviously something that was wanted in London.
Yeah.
Because before us, there was not a group that was. I don't think there is another group in London, or at least if anything has started, it might have started post us. And you know, obviously, if there's anyone listening to this right now and they know otherwise, like, please forgive me.
Come and join the next
Yeah.
meetup. What do we do? The second Wednesday of each month.
Second Wednesday of every month. We
come
go
along to the
we go
next
to a
one.
pub. Sometimes get swapped around in December because of Christmas shenanigans.
Too much going on. Yeah.
But then we also do like a collab meetup with
That's what I was going to ask next.
the ladies
So
the beer.
We've done the first collaboration here in London.
Yep, so we did that at the bottle shop because that is the birthplace of the Crafty Beer Girls. So
Yep.
I always like to go there for events.
How did that come about, and might we see another similar collaboration in the future?
Yeah, well, that was really exciting because Judy from Ladies That Beer contacted me and just said, let's do something together. So I was like, cool, yeah, let's do it. I think we spent like 2 or 3 months like organising it, and I had a really, really nice day. So I think people paid £5 on the door, and we gave everyone either a half or a third of something as part of their entry to
Something being a female brewed beer that was
Yes, we had
specially picked for the day.
6 beers on or 5 beers, I can't remember.
Yeah.
So we had Neptune, and we had the wild card beer that I helped brew as well. Were you there?
No, I was
It
out
was
of
the
town.
Unite brew.
Yep, part of the International Women's Collaborative Brew Day.
Yeah, which was amazing. I've been to Wildcard for every International Women's Day. There's 2 days I will always take off work, and it's my birthday and International Women's Day. It's just a thing I have to do because I have to go to Wildcard and brew a beer with
Yeah.
them. Jager actually said one of the best compliments I've ever had from another woman in the beer industry, and she said, I really know my way around a CIP. Which, if you don't
explain what
a CIP, if you don't know what that is, it is a cleaning in place. So it's essentially like cleaning equipment, but not actually having to physically touch it. So just using chemicals and pressure to clean things.
So very important for packaging. Make sure there's no
It's
contamination
important.
for all kinds
a
of
brewery
brewing.
cannot function without a CIP.
Yeah.
You spend about 80% of your time in a brewery
Cleaning.
CIP in anyway.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Brewing is being a glorified custodian.
Yeah,
Adage,
basically.
I heard in the past.
Beer janitor.
Yep.
So we had one of those beers on. Judy, Neptune, they also had a Unite beer on. So that was really nice to have the North and the South both have International Women's Day beers.
Yeah.
There was another beer that I'd brewed with Pressure Drop, but unfortunately it wasn't packaged at that point, so we couldn't get it. But Rhubarb, a user's guide, if you guys ever come across it, that you know that's a Crafty Beer Girl helped, not inspired necessarily, but yeah,
the Crafty Beer Girls helped to brew that one with many other important female figures in the beer industry.
Loads of women in there. That was really, really awesome. Admittedly, I didn't really help. I just drank quite a lot, but
that was one of my questions for you. Tell me more about that day and what you did. But if you didn't do anything, I suppose.
I think I drank a lot of beer and networked.
You were there to bring your positivity and enthusiasm.
People love that about me. I'm gonna go with that. So the next one, we will be doing that on 10th of November. We're doing that in Manchester. So there's more details to come. So if anyone's interested, Crafty Beer Girls on Facebook is the place to go for more info. Or Ladies at Beer, obviously, and on Twitter and any other social media that you can find us on, really.
Yeah. So it's anher gathering of similar groups for women in beer from across the country.
Oh, one thing I failed to
together
mention actually that happened at the first collab meetup was our host Nat actually gave a really, really lovely talk on the history of beer.
I did indeed, and if you want to hear a quick summary of it, we can then refer you to our other friend Emma Inch, who has a podcast, Fermentation Radio.
Yes.
As in the August edition, I did a quick 15-minute summary of my hour-long talk.
Wow.
So you can hear me talking really quickly and going through all the points. and it was about the taking a look back at the last 100 years in beer, as it was 100 years since women first got the vote, and talking about 5 innovations in those 100 years, and drinking a female brewed example of each beer style that was referenced. So it was a great day. And now I don't know how to top myself. I need to figure out what to do for the next
You
step.
have to keep going back into history.
Might be a live podcast recording.
Oh, you'd have to do some history on Heck.
On Heck?
The original Egyptian non-hops.
Oh. I don't know enough about ancient Egyptian beers. So
I was recently given a book on the history of beer by my grandparents.
Amazing.
It's
reached your grandparents. Your grandparents know that you love beer.
Well, I'm glad that they just recognise that I work in beer, so that's really nice. It's only been like about 4 years, and they finally got there. But I just flicked it open, first page, Heck, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna ask Nat about this."
Okay, no, I don't know it.
But you can borrow the book, because I swear it comes from the 60s. But
okay, good.
It was slightly outdated.
That gives me 2 months to write my next talk. So what do you like to do when you're not at work and when you're not planning Crafty Beer Girls events? What do you do outside of beer?
Oh, I don't know if there is anything outside of beer sometimes. I mean, I recently went to America, and I think 90% of my trip, which was like 3 weeks long, was about beer.
Most of my life as well.
Yeah.
Every holiday becomes a beercation.
There was a point where I was on Tinder, and I felt a little bit embarrassed because people would be like, "So what do you do outside of beer?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't."
Nothing.
Beer is my life.
You're incredibly passionate about it.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me you like to bake, but even in your baking you use beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it touches every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to bake for occasions, so it's not something I do on a casual... Admittedly, I do have some grapes at home, so I am going to be doing some winemaking at the weekend.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I went up to Cambridge last weekend to go buy some... I bought some Tempranillo and some Shiraz, and I'm going to make some red wine at the weekend.
How is that? Do you have an at-home winemaking kit?
You don't need it. You crush grapes and you throw some yeast in. Like
just leave them.
Yeah, there is almost no science behind winemaking. If you can have the science behind it. Like you obviously clean things and yeast happens, but it's not beer at all. Beer is a scary thing to want to make. Is my temperature right? Have I got enough grain to water ratio? With grapes, just crush them, stick some yeast in. Yeah, you're good.
Magic happens.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exciting.
So other than that, I mean, I occasionally play D&D now.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. I really like that. Admittedly, when we started our campaign, we started in a tavern because I play with brewers. So it was
best place to start. Yeah.
Beer even gets into my D&D game.
It's literally in every aspect of your life.
Well, my most recent tattoo, I made sure I got some hops on my arm as well.
Yeah, that's true. That was on your New York trip?
Yeah, that was my New York trip. Yeah. And I went to a place called 5 Points.
Oh,
my tattoo shop was called 5 Points.
Wow.
Yeah.
Through and through.
Yeah.
Brand loyalty is
That's
amazing. You do certainly love 5 Points.
I do.
If you do ever have a bad day, as we know that we all do, what picks you back up?
It really depends on the situation and what has caused me to have a bad day. But say someone makes I call them boo-boos. If someone makes a boo-boo at work, fixing it usually picks me back up. But in all honesty, most of the time it's finishing my day and having a beer and going to the pub. And actually going to the pub with everyone that you've had a really hard slog with and kind of just debriefing together, and just being like, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, or going for lunch, sometimes I just need to eat because I get hangry. I don't realise.
I get hangry too. Everyone at work knows it as well.
Yeah, well, there's a second brain in your stomach.
Yep, I was talking to my aunt about this very recently.
I was thinking about this on the train on my way into work today. I was just like, my stomach is telling me...
I'm about to get grumpy. Gotta sort this out.
Go and eat some food. So I don't know, you just kind of get your head down and go through it and you tackle all the crap that you need to tackle. And then when you can reward yourself, you then reward yourself with
that
with
job
as much
well done feeling. And
yeah, it's a job well done, and a beer at the end of the day, I think, is probably the best thing for it.
Yeah, what gets you back to peak Alix?
Yeah,
positivity.
Yeah, getting into my own clothes as well.
Out of all your work kit.
Yeah, I feel like just this really gross beer person. Just, you're wearing like a sort of cruddy t-shirt. No,
I would love if you had a jumpsuit.
We're looking to get some dungarees,
Nice.
but they don't have the right size in the same colour, and we want everyone to match.
Okay. Part of a team. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So looking back at where you started your journey in the beer industry, is this where you thought you'd end up?
No, never in my life. In all honesty, when I was 19 and I was washing pots in the back of a pub restaurant, if you said to me in 11 years' time, you're going to be working in a brewery and packaging beer, I would laugh very heavily in your face.
Yeah.
I would never even think that, I worked on the production side of things. I feel incredibly privileged and very lucky to have been put into this position, and with a brewery like 5 Points as well. They've got there's a lot of expertise on site. So where I was even 2.5 years ago, before I even started, that Alix and this Alix having a conversation about beer, I would laugh at you don't know anything about beer. Yeah. I never thought I'd get to this point.
And what's next? What do you look forward to? What do you still want to achieve in the industry, personally or professionally?
I think I've spoken about this quite a lot, actually. What I would really like to do is have a little bit more fairness in the industry as well. There was a really good article that was brought out. It was an American article about breweries and how people work and stuff like that. And I remember reading it and thinking, yeah, that's about right. So, yeah, we do work long hours. We work with hot water. We work with chemicals. And obviously we take every step that we can to prevent anything from happening to the staff, because, that would be...
You got to look after your team.
You got to look after the team, and, you really, really... That's your friend as well. That's not just your colleague. That's your friend. So I think safer... working environments, and also fairer working environments. And I would even say, like, there's quite a lot of breweries in London that need a little bit of boost. So what I really want to do is encourage everyone to join a union. And obviously we've spoken about this prior to sitting down. And it's something I really, really, really want to go for. And everyone I've spoken to has been very, very excited about it. So outside of my career, that's kind of where I want to head towards. I kind of want to be a little bit of an ambassador for,
a campaigner for fairness and safety in the industry.
Exactly. And the thing is...
And protections in the industry.
I can't even imagine anyone being against it, because then what you're essentially saying is, I don't want protection and fairness for my staff.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see where we get with that, because, unions scare people sometimes.
But it's about approaching it in the right way and showing people the value of it.
Exactly, and being stronger together as well.
Yeah, with your infectious enthusiasm, I think you can convince anybody of anything. So,
just to warn you all, if you're listening, this is me really calm as well.
This is after a very long week at work.
Yeah, this is like...
And there's still a lot of bubbly personality here,
yeah.
Which is one of my favorite things about getting to chat with you.
Oh,
okay,
thank you.
My last question for you. What do you enjoy most about being a part of the beer industry?
It's just so fucking funny. The amount of times I've cried with laughter, and like I've met so many amazing people. And yeah, obviously I think it's the people that make it. I think even if we brewed the worst beer in the world, the people that you get to meet and the friends that you make. I've met people twice and I've told them I love them because it's just, you kind of feel like you're all a part of the same thing, there's a connection immediately. So I think if I was introduced to someone and they're like, oh, hey, this is so-and-so from so-and-so brewery, and they'd be like, this is Alix from 5 Points, we're not going to be like, oh, hey, where's the competition? We're like, dude,
you love beer too?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the beer is amazing and we get to drink a lot of free beer working in the industry.
Work perks.
Work perks, yeah. But it's always going to be the people. I think even if I left the beer industry and I went and worked in like an office punching numbers into a computer, I would never ever want to forget any of the people that I've met, like yourself included. Like, I just think the moment I met you, I was just like, she's great. I want to get to know her better.
I felt the same.
Yeah, and I think Francesca as well, who also works at 5 Points. She didn't when I first met her, and I immediately hit it off with her. And yeah, I think I've got some really, really good lifelong friends from working in this industry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Nat.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and a big thanks to Alix for her time. On the next episode, you'll hear from Gaia Freitag, the Quality Assurance Manager at Italy's Del Ducato Brewery. Ever wondered what goes into ensuring beer quality? From brewing to packaging to dispense, Gaia explains it all. If you're liking what you're hearing, please do leave me a rating or review, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Chat soon!